Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about defunding the military. Now, ever since the protests over the death of George Floyd, there have been calls around the nation and even an occasional piece of legislation presented at a city level to defund the police. Now, this, of course, has had conservatives literally losing their shit. The thought of defunding the police by even 1 cent is an idea that is so abhorrent to them that they have literally stormed city halls and Capitol buildings. It's like easily on par with critical race theory as things that conservatives freak out about the possibility of seeing. Never mind the fact that these people's governments are the ones that have consistently defunded the hospital, defunded the fire department, and defunded the schools in their city or county or town. And they all seem perfectly okay with that. But you say defund the police, whoa, that's where they lose it. Because apparently people are more afraid of being robbed than they are of getting stage 3 colon cancer. So that seems totally normal. However, the right-wing rage machine has decided to say, okay, we will see your defund the police, and we are going to check notes. Call to defund the military. So allow me to show you a play in 3 acts, which starts with Republican outrage and ends, unsurprisingly, with even more Republican outrage. Defunding the military, the right-wing talking heads, I can't make it up. Here we go! Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Representative Matt Gaetz clash on critical race theory. Because, of course, they do. Now, before I start into this, if any of you are confused or you're not sure who Matt Gaetz is, let me remind you, he is the 3rd-term Republican congressional rep from the Panhandle down in Florida, who is currently being investigated by the Justice Department for traveling with underage women and illegal narcotics, and then giving them money and illegal narcotics in exchange for sex. He has also been accused by multiple members of the House for showing them revenge porn and pictures and videos of naked women that he claims to have slept with on his cell phone in the middle of sessions on the floor of the House. Also, he backed Donald Trump's claims that the election was stolen and that Dominion voting machines were rigged by the ghost of Hugo Chavez, who built a time machine and traveled back in time to before he died to learn computer programming and then program Dominion voting machines at some time in the future after his death to ensure that in 2020, Joe Biden would beat Donald Trump. Are you caught up now? You know who Matt Gaetz is? I just want to make sure you have a firm grasp of who the person is who's going to come with today's piece of moral Republican outrage. And it is yet again by somebody else who literally has no fucking morals. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin faced off against Representative Matt Gaetz during a heated exchange over the impact of critical race theory on the military at a hearing in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday. Gaetz brought up CRT while questioning Austin about anti-extremism measures in the military and last month's dismissal of Space Force Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer during a hearing of the House Armed Services Committee. Lohmeyer was fired in May for partisan political activity after insisting that military diversity training is rooted in critical race theory and Marxism during a podcast interview. Austin declined to comment on the firing, noting that it is currently under investigation. So to confirm, the former head of the Space Force, hired by Donald Trump to run the brand new branch of the military, also created by Donald Trump, was fired from his job for insisting that diversity training is Marxism. And this somehow bothered Matt Gaetz because, of course, Matt Gaetz, A, has no fucking morality, and B, solely exists to fan the flames of partisanship so that he can get more money donated to his campaign. So, this is the first act of the three-act play. Matt Gaetz grandstanding in front of cameras in the House to show everybody that he's the most conservative of all the conservatives in all of faux conservative land. Matt Gaetz, number one. Act 2 of the three-act play began a little bit later when Gaetz started shaking his head and giving the naughty, naughty finger of recrimination to Joint Chief of Staff General Mark Milley, who dismissed offensive suggestions that members of the military would be attempting to be woke by merely reading about an academic theory that examines race in the context of systemic racism through American history. Allow me to show you a little bit of what that looked like.
But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand, and I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that?
Now, I am not the most militarily knowledgeable person around, but I would have to assume that if you are defending the Constitution and swearing an oath to defend America against enemies, both foreign and domestic, that the number one part of fighting those enemies, both foreign and domestic, would be learning about them and understanding them. I can't imagine that this is somehow what's being called woke. So what the actual tiff here is all about is that Matt Gaetz doesn't want anybody saying words like white rage, or possibly even insinuating that the overwhelming majority of people who stormed the Capitol were white, conservative, right-wing Republicans on a day that 5 people died while thousands of people in an angry mob overran the seat of the U.S. government. And again, people like Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Gunn and Lauren Gunbert and all the rest of them, they're totally fine with this. They're carrying the torch for this. These are the people who are leading the new Republican Party, the one who believes that you can burn anything to the ground if it's slightly to the left of Ronald Reagan.
Our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there.
That's right. Human bobblehead doll and accused human sex trafficker of minors on cocaine and ecstasy, Representative Matt Gaetz, sat there in an open session in front of Congress, shaking his head at somebody who has actually walked the walk rather than just talking the talk. Matt Gaetz never served in the military. Matt Gaetz would never serve in the military. Matt Gaetz would most assuredly not take a bullet for anybody. In fact, that's why he was keeping 17-year-old teenage girls doped up on ecstasy around him. You know, somebody to hold forward during a mass shooting event so that he could get out alive. Matt Gaetz is literally human trash, okay? And I'm not even a pro-military guy. But the only reason that he's doing this is to grandstand and earn points in the fucking right-wing outrage Olympics. And goddamn it, Matt Gaetz is going to make sure that somebody has to get a gold medal on a huge fucking ribbon to stretch it over his goddamned enormous head so he can stand on the podium and get the gold while the fucking national anthem plays in the background. Matt Gaetz, everybody. That's the end of Act 2 of our play. A play called Matt Gaetz Hates the United States of America, but loves when people in the United States of America give him money. Now, have you somehow thought that the end of Act 2 of our play, when the dude who probably has a dead hooker garden in his backyard was wagging the finger of recrimination and shaking his head at somebody who was actually in the fucking military, could have been the end of the play? You're right. Lots of people would have paid money just to watch that fucking theater. But no, here I make sure y'all get all 3 acts of the play. So, bringing it home, mere hours after that whole thing happened on the House floor, Laura Ingram came onto Fox News and decided to plant her flag and declare that she was now also a participant in the outrage Olympics. And Matt Gaetz, if you thought you were just going to walk away with the gold uncontested, Laura Ingram has got another thing coming for you, buddy, and it looks something like this.
We are sending our tax dollars to this military to an attempt to weed out so-called extremists, which just means conservative evangelical, as far as I can tell. We're paying for that? Why is Congress not saying we're not going to give you a penny until all of this is eradicated from the military budget? Nothing. This is my offer to you. Nothing. That's what I would say. I'm totally outraged by him and his ridiculous response today. Sorry, Congressman.
Noted non-veteran Laura Ingram doubling down and pulling ahead of Matt Gaetz in the outrage Olympics by yelling into a TV camera while talking to a seated U.S. congressman that Congress should defund the military because somebody suggested that white rage exists and that knowing and understanding the conditions which lead to a people trying to commit revolt is the best way to keep a revolt from happening again is somehow so offensive to her that she is going to call to defund the military. No, not the police, the military. That's right. Veterans Day? No. Fuck Veterans Day. Somebody in the military used the term white rage. So Veterans Day is now canceled in Laura Ingram's house. Oh, wait, what's that? We're coming up on July 4th and people are putting bunting under the front windows of their house? No. Not Laura Ingram. Laura Ingram's going to put a banner in front of her house that says defund the military. Right, Laura Ingram? You're going to do... Oh, no, you're not, because the Outrage Olympics is just for TV. Yeah, that's what I thought. This is the level of absurdity that we have now reached in the Outrage Olympics, in the 24-hour drama cycle. This is what the end of an empire looks like. And at this point, I am just waiting for some big dude to start playing a fiddle while a rather portly woman stands behind him and starts singing the final notes. Because if we continue on this trajectory, this only ends one way. So keep playing up the fake rage for the real clicks. Because when all the smoke starts, not when it settles, but when it starts, it's going to be on you. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet and I am out. Peace.